We talk a lot about grief, at least I do on this channel. It's kind of my background. We talk about that when it comes to losing someone we love, but there's another kind of grief that almost no one is talking about, and it can hit just as hard. And it's the grief that shows up quietly when your business stops feeling like freedom and it starts feeling like a weight that you just can't put down. And if you've been feeling like that, even a little, stay with me because you're not wrong, you're not broken, and you're definitely not the only one because there's a conversation here that service providers like myself desperately need, and almost nobody is having it. Hi, I'm Cindy, and I help people who help people, the therapists, the healers, the practitioners, the counselors, and the ones that, like myself, pour into everyone else and somehow forget that they need support too. And after watching so many incredible people burn themselves out emotionally and financially, I knew something had to change. So now I help heart-centered service providers create leveraged incomes that actually holds them up, especially when life throws the kind of curveballs that none of us ever see coming. Because if you're the one holding everyone else together, you deserve a foundation that holds you together too. And maybe you've needed that more than you've ever admitted. Now, in this video, I want to talk about the hidden grief that service providers carry when the business that they've built with so much love starts breaking their heart. We're going to talk about the silent shame behind that, the pressure, the fear, the exhaustion, and how you can begin rebuilding not just your business, but your inner peace. Because I've lived this and I've watched people I care about live it too. And once you see this pattern, you just can't unsee it. A dear friend of mine, she's a spiritual coach. She had a heart that just could light up a room. She built her business around helping people reconnect with themselves, and she loved what she did. It was her calling. And then life shifted in one breath. Her husband became gravely ill. It was the kind of illness that steals your sleep and rewrites your future overnight. Well, one surgery, then another surgery, then a long nights where hope and fear fight for that space in your chest. And everything that once felt steady is starts to disappear. So her clients, they had to wait. Her income stopped. Her focus became keeping her husband alive. And as this illness stretched on, so did her bills. His paycheck vanished. Hers already had. They had always needed both incomes just to stay afloat. And now they didn't have either one of them. And she wasn't just tired, she was running on fumes. She found herself crying quietly so he wouldn't see the fear, because she was supposed to be the strong one. She stretched groceries into meals that shouldn't have worked, but they did. And she prayed the mailbox wouldn't hold another overdue notice. Friends and family helped when they could, and she was so grateful, but it just wasn't enough to stop the unraveling. And the hardest part, she wasn't just grieving her husband's health, she was grieving the dream she had poured her soul into. This business that she believed would support her family was slipping through her fingers, no matter how tightly she tried to hold on. Then she said something that really hit me hard. She said, I realized I had built a business that couldn't survive when life happened. And when she said it, I felt that deep because I've been there too. If you're in the service space, maybe you felt this at one time or another. Maybe you're feeling it now. You pour into everybody else. You show up with your whole heart. You do everything right. But behind the scenes, clients are inconsistent. The red ocean of competition feels endless, and you're burnt out from over delivering and undercharging. And marketing feels very overwhelming, unless you have a marketing background, which I didn't. Sometimes selling feels uncomfortable, and there's this whisper in your head that says, wow, everybody else seems to be doing so much better than me. But what if you're not failing? And I had to keep asking myself that question. What if I was just simply carrying a business model that was never designed to support me or support you? So that heartbreak that you're feeling, it's real and it deserves to be acknowledged. It deserves a voice. And nobody that I know of is giving it a voice. So over time, I started noticing this pattern everywhere in my clients, in my colleagues, in friends, and of course, in myself. The healers, the coaches, the therapists, the practitioners, people who stepped into this work because they genuinely just wanted to help other people. But somewhere along the way, the business that was supposed to give them purpose, give them flexibility, and give them freedom became this thing that was draining the life out of them. They were not grieving a person, they were grieving a dream. The dream of helping without sacrificing themselves, the dream of creating a life with space to breathe, the dream of finally breaking free from the limits of a job. And what that dream starts, or when that dream starts slipping away, it hurts in a place that's really hard to explain because, it's not just about the income. It's about identity. It's about safety. It's about questioning whether if you've been on that wrong track or the wrong future. And that grief deserves space. It deserves compassion. And it definitely deserves a voice because pretending it doesn't hurt only makes the ache louder. Because here's what I've learned. You cannot hustle your way out of burnout. You cannot mindset your way out of overwhelm. And you cannot fix emotional exhaustion with just one more strategy, even if it's a brilliant one. If your business only works when you're okay, guess what? It's not freedom. That's a trap decorated like a purpose. To build something sustainable, you have to heal both sides. The inside, which is your beliefs, your fear, your nervous system, and then also the outside, the structure of your business, your income model, your support system. And I had never really given thought to any of that when I stepped into this profession. Because because you deserve a business that doesn't collapse when life gets unpredictable, one that holds you up when you need a rest. And that's why I've felt so deeply called to expand what I share. I will always talk about emotional healing. That's who I am at my core. It's the work that saved me, and it's the work that has saved so many of my clients. But now I'm also speaking to the helpers who are quietly falling apart behind the scenes, to the ones who look strong on the outside, but feel one crisis away from losing everything that they've built. Because you know what? Emotional resilience isn't just for life, it's for business too. When your nervous system feels safe, you think clearly. When you're not in survival mode, creativity flows. And when the pressure lifts, possibilities expand. This isn't about hustling harder. It isn't about doing more. It isn't even about fixing everything. It's about building everything differently. A business model where your income isn't tied to your daily capacity. Support is built in, not hoped for. Rest, listen to me, rest counts as a strategy. And one bad month doesn't take you down. And helping others doesn't cost you your health or your joy. It's about finding your calm in all the chaos and creating a business that actually supports you instead of quietly breaking you. What a concept. So if you've ever said to yourself, man, this just wasn't supposed to feel this heavy, just listen to me. You're not alone. I was right there with you. There's no shame to being tired. There's no shame to needing support. It makes you more relatable. And there's zero shame in wanting your business to feel lighter. You built your business with love, with purpose, and with hope. And you deserve for it to give some of that back to you. And you know what my aha moment was? I spent years believing that if I had just worked harder, if I had just pushed more, learned another strategy, I could outrun that exhaustion. But the painful truth hit me one day. If my business only works when I'm okay, it's not freedom. It's another form of being trapped. And that realization just it cracked something open inside of me. I knew I had to look at my business differently. I had to try and build it differently. I had to create something that supported me when life wasn't perfect. And when is life ever perfect? And you know what? I want that for you too, because you deserve peace, you deserve purpose, and you deserve a profit that doesn't cost you your well-being. This next chapter for me, and maybe for you too, is about building resilience in life and in business. Because the truth is, you cannot separate your heart from your work. So if this message hit home, tell me in the comments. So, what part of your business has been the hardest to grieve? Has it been the dream? Has it been the loss of income? And if you're ready to start building a business that supports you instead of draining you, check out my free service provider survival guide. It might be worth taking a look at. And I'm going to drop the link below because helping others shouldn't hurt. Not anymore. See you in the next video.